What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're doing the finale for SRL, the Friday night league racing series that I've been doing for the last, I don't know, 6 months? Something like that. This is the finale, like I said, because I was away in the UK and Austria. It means I missed 3 weeks of this league in particular, and it's really unfortunate as well because this was the one that I had the best chance of winning the championship in. I think at one point we were only 4 points behind Ryan, and now it's mathematically, I think, even impossible for us to get second now in the driver's standings. Such was the gap between myself, Ryan, and Warden. That now is just impossible for us. But in this final race of the season, we're just going to look to have some fun, enjoy it, and yeah, see what we can do at Brazil. It's a track that, you know, historically on previous F1 games, this has been actually one of my best circuits, with the exception of F1 2017. Last season I was very, very slow around this circuit, and I don't really know why. I think it might have been setup related, but so far we put in a 1 minute 9.3 solid time, I'd say, as a banker, but realistically we want to be in the 1 minute 8s. Yeah, I'd say like mid 8s would be a really good time in this league. So we'll wait and see what we can do. It's a little bit overcast, so I don't know how that's going to play on the conditions, but we're going out for another run now with about 4 minutes to go. We've gone out a little bit early. I thought I'd just go out there and see what the time would be. If it was going to be a bad time, then I'd pull into the pits and go again. But you can see with 2 minutes 50 left to go, I thought if I pulled into the pits now, I may not go out there again. So I decided to stay out and do this final lap here, and this lap will be the last lap we do of this session. But I got a really bad run through the Terraces and through turn 1 as well, and you can see we're not even up on our previous best time, which wasn't, it was okay as a banker, but as a competitive time at the end of the session, not good enough. And you can see we're just teetering on the edge of improving on it. So yeah, that's the first sector done and dusted already. So we really need to pull our finger out here in this middle and third sector in particular. We've locked up and ran wide through that right-hander. Again, we're still down on our previous best, so it's not looking good. If we can't get in the 8s, then we're going to be a fairly long way down the order here as we come up to pretty much the final corner now, and there's going to be no improvement unless we get a magical run out of the final corner. No, that's it. That's our qualifying session. So we're not going to improve on our banker time that we set at the start of the session with like 10 kilos of fuel on board. So that is the end of our qualifying session here in the Brazilian Grand Prix. And with like no time on the clock left, I was actually just hoping now that everyone knocked me out of the top 10 so that I could have free rein of tyres for the race. We're set to have some rain for the race, but you never quite know if you're going to be starting on the inters still, or on the dries, sorry, on a wet track. But here comes Ryan across the line. DRC Jared previously went pole position, but Ryan absolutely smashes it with a 1 minute 8.3, some 4/10 quicker than DRC Jared. And 4/10 is a massive, massive margin here at this Brazilian Grand Prix, being such a short lap time. So pole position for us was definitely not in the equation for us today. A 1 minute 8.3, there was no way I'd get anywhere near that. But in saying that, if I would have got a good time in, I think we would have been looking at second there. But it's not to be. We're going to head off for the race now, where it's going to be intermediate conditions on the middle intermediate tyre. So we're not starting on dries. So there's at least that to look forward to. We're going to have a proper wet race. It's supposed to be getting dry in the middle part and then going wet towards the end. But here we go, 5 red lights for the finale of SRL, and we are underway. Looks like a pretty decent start there up against that laggy person on the inside of us in the Sauber. He goes really late under brakes into turn 1, and I believe he smashed off a bit of his front wing, so not a great start to the Grand Prix from him. We pretty much slide around the outside of him. We get past another couple of cars. We get all Daly through turns 2 and 3, sorry, and that's us up in a P6. So just capitalising on other people's mistakes now. Already a few positions gained, and that's all we could really ask for at the start of this Grand Prix. We've got Neon Trudeau behind us putting pressure on, but we should be able to maintain that position heading on to the middle part of this first lap. So In terms of setup, you guys saw it in the menu. I went for like 3.9 wings, more rear wing to just give myself more stability, and hopefully gives me more confidence to push into some of these corners in the middle sector. So we'll have to wait and see. It looks like it's working a treat at the moment. We've got Alan Hugo getting overtaken by us up the inside. Job done. This is actually his first race of the season as well. He looks like he's a pretty quick driver, so watch out for him in future episodes of League Racing. Ryan setting the pace up front, still leading the Grand Prix as he usually does. We've got Greekmaster up next, who has been practicing quite a lot while I've been away. He's really stepped up his game, and so have a lot of other people like DRC Jared and Rain96. I've noticed that they've really bridged the gap between the midfield and the front runners. So now that I've come back from my trip, I've started to have a little bit of trouble trying to beat these guys at outright pace, being a little bit rusty. But you can see Greekmaster getting a little bit taily here. We might pass him up the inside here into this double right-hander. We get the job almost done here. We draw alongside, he has to leave a space. Then we go up the inside into the middle sector. Greek seems to be really, really quick in the dry, but in the wet he really seems to falter. He is a wheel user like me as well, but he, like me, probably doesn't practice in the rain, so that really hurts his pace. But we get up the inside of Greekmaster there, had to force the issue, had to get the job done, because we were losing so much time to Rain96 up the road just by going side by side for so long. I just had to seal the deal and just get on with it, really. But yeah, we've made our way through the field quite nicely. Next up is Jetson and Rain, the two Toro Rosso teammates, I believe. Or are they Toro Rosso? No, they might be Mercedes, sorry. Yeah, definitely Mercedes. I was getting mixed up with another league that these guys do, that they do on the Saturday. But yeah, Friday, SRL, Mercedes. Let's close them down if we can. I did find it a little bit more difficult to close in on these guys. Their pace was very, very solid, and they actually seem to be quite consistent, the two of these guys, in this Grand Prix. Now actually Warden, who qualified like 11th or 12th, he tried to do the mediums trick that I did last week in AOR Japan, where he was hoping for dry tyres, wet track. Didn't quite work out for Warden. He has no track position, but now in the rain, as is always the case, I feel like when it starts raining, Warden is always the guy to watch out for. He absolutely flourishes in these conditions, and you can just see how much he's caught us over the course of this last, I'd say, half a lap, and now he's really putting us under pressure now as we head into turn one. I'm going to go defensive. I'm going to fight it a little bit, but if he gets alongside like he is now, I'm just going to let him go. He's much faster than what I am, and I'm not going to ruin my own race trying to hold him up, because there's no point. He's much faster. We let him go, and we're going to follow him through, hopefully learn a thing or two, maybe some of his lines. But I couldn't even follow him for like a lap. He was already gone. His pace is absolutely insane in these wet weather conditions. But getting on in this Grand Prix now, the rain is starting to dissipate, which I'm not too sure if it was going to help me or if it was going to hurt me, because I've gone for a wet weather setup, 3.9 wings. Like I said, if it goes to full dries, I might be a little bit slow. I might have a little bit too much rear wing, but we'll have to wait and see. But we're getting to the point now where it's probably time to dive in for a set of dry tyres. Our inters are really starting to die off now that they're coming to the halfway stage of this Grand Prix. We sped into the pit lane, which is a 5-second stop-go penalty, which won't be served in this pit stop. If we do another one, it'll be served then, but if not, it'll be like a 5 or a 10-second penalty at the end of the race. And I also noticed that Greekmaster was pretty much inside me as I was entering the pit lane, so I'd hazard a guess to say that he was speeding into the pit lane as well. So yeah, it looks like we're both kind of screwed in this one, but we made a pretty early call for dry tyres. Here comes Greekmaster. Here's the thing like I was saying, now that DRS has been enabled, my straight line speed with the 3.9 wings looks pretty darn average. Greekmaster goes up my inside through turn 3 there. Couldn't quite get the move done. We fell off the track, rejoined just about in front of him, and now we have the DRS somehow, so I don't know how that's worked out, but that certainly helped me in maintaining my position for that 18th lap of the Grand Prix. Now Neon Tridome is still on the intermediate tyres on a dry-ish track. Should be diving in here. I decided to leave him space on the left-hand side. He didn't take it. He's going out again on another lap on the intermediate tyres. We set the fast lap of the Grand Prix since we were pretty much the first one to react on the dry tyres. It'll be interesting to see what the dry pace is now once everyone else dives into the pits for their dry tyres. But here comes Greekmaster once again, setting purple lap times. But Greek goes even faster. We lock up into turn 1, has a little look, but nothing really emerging there. So yeah, at this stage I knew I was slow in a straight line. I was pretty much using all of my fuel to stay in front of Greekmaster. That's going to be an issue later on if we continue this tossling. But yeah, we've got our hands full certainly at the moment. Lap 20, this is Warden we're catching up to, who actually stopped for intermediate tyres in his pit stop. He was gambling on the rain coming down much quicker than what it is at the moment. Like I said, it was going to be raining towards the end of the race. And it's actually supposed to be raining in about 5 minutes or so. So Warden took the gamble. I don't think it's going to work for him. But if it starts absolutely pouring right now, then he might just about be in the game. Again, another fastest lap for us. We have the pace, but we just don't have the straight line speed. And that gives us a massive disadvantage in this race when Greekmaster tries to overtake us. Here he goes around the outside. Turns to the inside for the next right-hander. Bit of a shove. And Greekmaster gets the position. So yeah, not too happy about that one, but you know, what can you do? We're going to let Greekmaster do the punching the hole in the air, and we're going to follow him through. You can see we're in trouble a little bit with fuel now, so I took this as a bit of an opportunity to save some of that and just stay with him. He wasn't getting away by any means. I was just getting held up a little bit in the middle sector, but I guess I was saving fuel anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. But now we have another complication in our race. DRC Jared, who was in the podium positions pretty much, has reacted. We actually jumped him because we got in front of him by stopping earlier for dry tyres, and we got a huge advantage out of that. But now Jared is on the softer compounded tyre. We're overtaking Greekmaster at the exact same time. Could be 3 wide here if Jared plays his cards right, but a bit of a roadblock between myself and Greekmaster, which prevents that from happening. Greek goes really deep into turn 4, gets a position back, and he is back on the podium once again. Bloody hell. What a fight this is turning into, and the rain is continuing to fall down here in this Brazilian Grand Prix. Still not quite ready for the intermediate tyres, but we're pretty much on standby with the pit crew as soon as we get the call from Jeff. Really late under brakes there for me into turn 1. I was trying to put the pressure on Greek here, trying to overtake him, burning a lot of fuel in the process. I got a bad run through the first sector, and I decided to just concede the position to Jared. He was putting the pressure on, and I'm getting really dangerously low on fuel, so I just thought I'd take a chill pill a little bit, assess the situation. Another pit stop is coming up anyway, so there'll be more opportunities for us later. We just need to save a little bit of fuel at this stage, but yeah, just biding our time, trying to be patient. And while this was happening, Jared was really starting to lose temperature on his super soft tyres, and this is the phase of the Grand Prix where I think Greekmaster was starting to get away. So this was pretty frustrating, to be honest. I definitely made a wrong call on my setup. I just couldn't overtake cars. Was trapped behind Greek. Now I'm trapped behind Jared, and Greekmaster is getting away in this Grand Prix. You can see just how bad Jared is in the corners. He's losing the back end like crazy. I got a fairly stable exit, and I'm in rich mixture, and I'm only just edging towards him now, but we're going to dive into the pits now. It's time for another set of intermediate tyres. That'll take us to the end of this Grand Prix. Nearly sped into the pit lane as well. I felt like I sped into the pit lane, but the game let me get away with it there. But since we're doing another pit stop, we're having to serve the 5-second stop-go penalty from earlier on in the race. So we're going to lose out that position to Jared. Thankfully, Greekmaster as well, who had his 5-second stop-go, he served his, but he was a good 2 or 3 seconds up the road. And with only like 2 or 3 laps left in the Grand Prix and not much fuel left, I couldn't really do much to try and close down the gap to Greekmaster. So it's P6, I believe, in the Brazilian Grand Prix. You can see Warden right behind me in P7. He was looking really good for a podium early doors, but that strategy call for him to go on intermediate tyres instead of going for the dries, that completely ruined his race, and he didn't recover from there despite how fast he was. So a pretty interesting Grand Prix for the finale. Ryan won by like 15 or 16 seconds, maybe even more. His pace like Warden's, was pretty much untouchable, and we certainly didn't help ourselves with the... I want to blame the setup, to be honest, but I don't think we would have had the pace anyway. We were probably maybe just as quick as, you know, Rain and Jared, a little bit quicker than Greek Master, but we just made some bad calls here and there, which got us in trouble. So it's 6th place in the Brazilian Grand Prix. I'm not too sure how it's only 6, since Greek Master has 18 seconds worth of penalties, and we have 5 seconds. I don't even know how we have 5 seconds worth of penalties, to be honest. That must be a carryover from our first and only stop-go penalty of the Grand Prix, but we served that in the race, so I don't know why we got an additional 5 seconds for that. I'm not too sure. It might be P5. It really doesn't matter, to be honest. Championship-wise, that's not going to change anything. But that is SRL, and I believe that will be my final race in this league as well. Going into F1 2018, I honestly don't see how I can squeeze it all in, as well as making videos. So going forward for league racing, I think you're only going to see races from AOR. So from a, I guess, viewing perspective, you guys will be a little less confused having to keep track of 2 different leagues. Now we can just focus on the one, do more practice for just the one, and get more videos out, whether it be career mode, online videos, and all that other stuff. So hopefully you've enjoyed this season. You can see the standings up on screen right now. You can see those 3 races we missed at the end there were absolutely killer for us. Would have been really, really close. I think between all of us, if I just wasn't going away for that time. But, you know, otherwise, we put in a pretty solid effort up until, I'd say, the halfway point of the season. But guys, that's been it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See plenty more F1 gaming content. And until the next video, I'll see you next time.